George Galloway, Andre Walker and Alexis Conrad on Talk Radio.
Welcome back to the show. Now we are going to speak to the chairman of the Bow Group. This is Ben Harris-Quinney. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks a lot.
Post the vote of Theresa May, which it did win by 200 votes to 117, where does the Conservative Party go from here?
Well, I think it's very difficult for the Conservative Party to find any cohesive way forward. I think what you've basically got now is two parties within one. You've got those 117 and maybe a few more who will not support Theresa May's proposed deal or anything like it. And then you've got the block of loyalists who will go along to get along, maybe with a few Remainers thrown in. And I think post the vote, because there can't be another vote of no confidence in her now for a year, things that would normally be taken as read, like passing the finance bill, which is coming up next week, like passing key votes, is not something the leader of the Conservative Party and the Prime Minister can now rely on a very significant proportion of her party to now do. And I think it's important to point out that that vote constituted, the vote against her constituted 80% of backbench Tory MPs. So there were actually very few people that backed her that are not on her payroll. So it's whilst she's won, it is really a very weak endorsement of her leadership.
Well, that as may be, but she did win, and she did get a bigger majority than most people thought she would. But would you say that the Conservative Party at the moment, being faced with what we've been talking about with George and Andre here, which of course the next big step is the withdrawal agreement, it seems that which way we've talked about it this evening, you're going to get to the point where the withdrawal agreement does not pass in Parliament, and what happens next? Would you think that the Conservative Party would be confident in going into a general election with Theresa May at the helm, even though she has said that she's not planning to fight the next general election? That might not apply to a general election that's been called a snap general election.
It might not, and I think, quite frankly, if she did lead the Conservative Party into a snap general election or any election that occurs before 2022, which is the ceiling date that she's put on leaving, I think the Conservative Party would lose to Jeremy Corbyn. I think Theresa May is a hard-working lady, but she is not an effective politician. To be an effective politician, you need to show leadership credentials, you need to take people along with you, you need to inspire people, you need to demonstrate a vision. And Theresa May has been unable to do that in the time that she has been in office. And in terms of the scenario now for the Conservative Party and for Parliament as a whole, I think we're looking at a no-deal Brexit. I am not as enthusiastic about a no-deal Brexit as many Brexiteers are, and the reason why we in the Bow Group called for a leadership challenge to Theresa May to take place was because if another leader came in, we just might have enough time, and we called for it 3.5 weeks ago now. If a new leader came in, there might have just been enough time to negotiate a Canada triple plus type arrangement, the like of which that Brexiteers support, and there seems to be support for in Europe. Now it's May's deal, which there is no majority for in Parliament, or no deal, and I think it's no deal we're headed for.
I'm not a Conservative, obviously. But
you don't have to say that.
If I were, I would have said that the party missed a trick tonight. They missed a real chance to ditch someone who has no empathy, is widely regarded as robotic, is a very poor campaigner, as throwing away the government's majority last year she demonstrated. And they could have replaced her with a vote winner, or at least someone that could hold the tide, and they've now lost that opportunity. If there is a general election early, which there may very well be, she will be your leader in that general election, and as you said, she'd very likely lose it. I'm looking at the front pages today. I think the most damaging one is the Times, which correctly describes the situation. May scrapes home looking picture. Sometimes they say a budget doesn't really look as good the next day or the day after that. Do you think Theresa May's victory tonight will not look as good tomorrow or the day after that?
Well, you compare it, as most people have, to what happened with Thatcher when she faced a similar no confidence vote in her leadership, which, again, she actually won. But it was.
And she got 204 votes.
She did. I mean, the parliamentary arithmetic was slightly different, but without going into all that, it was very much a Pyrrhic victory. There were sophologists that were saying, well, technically you can win this, but the view was that so damaged was her leadership, so damaged was her authority over the party, that there was no way to really move forward with her as leader, as a lot of her advisors and she herself saw it. And I think that is the same situation for Theresa May. We keep hearing that Theresa May is a stubborn woman, and that is a fantastic thing, but it's not always a fantastic thing if this person is being stubborn and effectively holding up the country's possibilities just because they refuse to acknowledge the reality of the political situation.
But Ben, one of the things that really, really struck me, if you think about it, Margaret Thatcher did better than John Major, and yet John Major was able to continue, and Margaret Thatcher, obviously left office. And one of the things that was often said about the difference between Major and Thatcher was that Major, when the result was announced, had all of his people out on College Green, spinning it as a great victory. It really struck me in terms of the misfire that tonight, once again, if you turn on the TV, turn on the radio, you listen to talk radio, it's all the Remainers, all the May loyalists who are out and about doing the spinning. It's not the ERG people. Jacob Rees-Mogg, okay, he appeared on a couple of TV channels, but his senior lieutenants aren't anywhere to be seen. Boris went home after he voted. Yeah, that's right. Isn't part of the problem here, Ben, that actually the malcontents, the ERG, just never get the politics of these things right?
I think there's a lot of truth in that, and I think the reason there is, particularly with this vote, a lot of truth in that, is that the general public don't really understand what's going on. They don't understand what the 1922 committee is. They don't understand all this men and, now women in grey suits that make all these decisions behind the scenes, and the fact that, a couple of hundred people can determine the future of a whole nation in this way. And, we in the Bow Group have been campaigning for complete democratisation of the Conservative Party, so there is some accountability, but because it's so unclear how this process works, you can pretty much get away with spinning it in whatever direction you want to if you've got the resources to do so, which the government obviously does have. And I think the problem.
In that case, can I just jump in there and say to you, if you're campaigning for democracy within the Conservative Party, and we're asking the question, where does the Conservative Party go from here? Isn't now the issue that you and I are faced with as two Conservatives, that surely the big thing about the Parliamentary Party, if and when Theresa May goes, the number one thing they will try and do is prevent Boris being one of the two final candidates that are put to the Conservative Party membership. And the reason they'll do that is because they know the Conservative Party membership would vote for him to be Prime Minister.
Yeah, I think they would vote for him, or they would vote for a Jacob Rees-Mogg, or they might vote for a David Davis, but they certainly wouldn't vote for anyone like Theresa May. And the polling that we have done over the years, going right back to when there was the leadership challenge in 20, or the David Cameron step down in 2016, showed that May only ever enjoyed a maximum of 20% support among the membership. So, frankly, Andrea Leadsom, and many people have criticised Andrea Leadsom's candidacy and her campaign and all the rest of it, but she would have beat May from pretty much everything I have seen. So you've got this curious situation where someone can rise to the rank of Prime Minister, and I have particular difficulty explaining this to Americans, and they don't really have any base of support anywhere in the country.
She did win the 60% of the vote in the second round, the second ballot, which saw Andrea Leadsom withdraw. I'm not quite certain where you get.
Well, because that was because
Leadsom would have beaten her.
Right, because that was of what Andre's saying. And the reason that she didn't get 60% of Conservative Party members, she got 60% members of parliament. So in other parties, it's the membership, the whole membership, that decides who the leader's going to be, not just a collection of not just a collection of 300 people. So what Andre's saying is, it's obvious that a candidate like Boris Johnson, from all polling, universal polling on this, doesn't matter what polling company you use, if you look at Conservative Party members and ask them who they want their next leader to be, they will pick a Brexiteer, and the person that comes top may be Jacob Rees-Mogg, maybe Boris Johnson, maybe David Davis, but it won't be anyone that falls within that centrist May circle. But what Andre's saying is, generally, the system works so the members are not allowed that choice. So it's all decided, like it's been decided tonight, like it was decided in 2016, and like it's often decided, by a few hundred people in a room. And that's what's dictating the future of our nation. I think in a modern democracy, that's simply unacceptable. And there'll be a lot of people sitting at home saying, I just don't understand what's going on.
Well, Ben, last question before we go to a break. You mentioned earlier that she fails to understand the political reality. The political reality is the Conservative Party have the way they're working. They had a vote, just like some may say the referendum vote. Okay, I appreciate it. This is just the MPs voting. It's not the grassroots of the party, but there was a vote. She won it. The political reality also is there is no majority in the House of Parliament for a no-deal Brexit. She's simply doing what she can for the good of the country whilst trying to honour the referendum. Maybe the political reality is this is what Brexit looks like.
Well, I have no ill will against Theresa May personally, and I also don't doubt that she feels that she is doing what is best for the country. I doubt her abilities and her traits as a leader to be able to get a better deal than the one that she has come back with. And I think, a more committed Brexiteer that believed in the vision of Brexit might have been able.
In charge, Ben. You had David Davis. You can't get more committed than David.
No, but he
Davis.
wasn't in charge. But if you look at what Dominic Raab didn't even know what the deal was, and he was Brexit secretary. So these guys were completely short-circuited. May wasn't informing them, and you can read everything that they've written and said that they didn't know what was going on.
So what was David Davis doing for 18 months?
Well, I think
what was he pretending to do to the British public? He was a Secretary of State. What was he doing?
I think he was doing what he could, but there was clearly key bits of information which were being kept from him because, the Prime Minister obviously outranks any other member of cabinet.
Was he aware of this, or was he not aware of this?
According to him, he was latterly aware of it, and that's part of why he chose to step down.
Why didn't he resign sooner?
Well, I think he felt that he could better influence things from inside the tent rather than outside. But obviously it reached a point with Chequers where he felt that he could no longer go along with it. And Dominic Raab was the same way. The Dominic Raab situation was even more bizarre because it seemed to be a total shock to Dominic Raab, the content of the withdrawal agreement.
I believe there was some content that he hadn't been privy to that just magically appeared.
Yeah, well, it's. I think that was a mistake for Theresa May to short circuit other members of her cabinet, and particularly the Brexit secretary, who should have been involved in all aspects of it. So that's the way she's chosen to run things. But I think the point is that the political reality is now looking like a no-deal Brexit because, as Bob Blackman said, if there is no deal, if there is no settlement by March 29th, we drop out of the EU automatically. There is no more money that will flow to the EU, and I very much doubt that Parliament would get a bill to pay more money to the EU through, certainly not through the Conservative Party, and I think Labour would rather see the government fail than to pass legislation to send more money to the EU. So I think we're now heading towards that cliff edge because there is now not time for an alternative leader or anyone else to come in and offer a different vision. And I think that's a great shame for the country, but we are where we are, and my advice to the government would be start preparing for a no-deal scenario.
Okay, Ben Harris-Quinney, thank you very much. That's chairman of the Bow Group. We'll take a quick break, and then we're going to... Ben.